This is the Bahamas Tonight, the Northern Edition. Good evening, all. I'm Shashina Roll. As always, it is so great to have you with us. Topping news, a major partnership in the making that could help propel the country's agricultural industry, particularly on this island. This as the government continues to explore ways to promote food security. Joan Davis-Roll has our top story.
Some big news coming from the Minister for Grand Bahama, the Honorable Dr. Michael Davo, and a local organization, and it involves the field of agriculture. The island of Grand Bahama attracting the interest of a number of entities as the government moves to develop this vital industry.
I'm pleased to be here at the Ministry for Grand Bahama with the Grand Bahama Farmers Cooperative Limited, a well-structured organization. Elections took place last year, November, and the new elected body is already hitting the ground running. It is my understanding that they are in direct communication with 3 direct foreign investors about potential agricultural products as well as projects in East Grand Bahama. As you are aware, in East Grand Bahama, we have in excess of about 33,000 acres of arable land, and with some of the direct foreign investment that will be coming to the island of Grand Bahama, a lot of that land will be utilized, as well as the access to some of the best groundwater in the Commonwealth of the Bahamas.
Minister Davo says this is the plan, that any potential investor must partner with members of the co-op. This news came during a recent courtesy call on the Minister for Grand Bahama by members of the Grand Bahama Farmers Cooperative Society. The organization's president, Oscar Campbell.
One of those investors is looking at him at what can be done with herbs, local herbs, in conjunction with herbs brought in from the U.S. The idea is to be able to encapsulate raw herb material into capsules as supplements. And what will be done is those capsules will be put together locally.
Campbell says there are a gamut of potential ventures locally that investors want to take globally.
It's a very lucrative market in the U.S., and the company that we're dealing with sees much potential. That will employ, to begin with, 20 persons. And the good thing about it is it allows us to utilize the services of our corp members who aren't so physically able to do work in the farms.
Joan Davis-Roll, ZNS Network News.
Well, as the government continues its focus on training, a local Bahamian-owned company is doing its part to ensure that Bahamians become skilled workers. Sabrina Brown has that story.
Bahamians employed with Clear Blue Maritime Services are trained by the company, which is contracted by the Grand Bahama Shipyard to carry out scaffolding, rigging, and blasting jobs. The Bahamian-owned and operated company also uses the slow periods to ensure that the 70-plus workers are cross-trained in all areas.
Clear Blue sought the opportunity to a basis of continuous training, bringing them in, giving them the opportunity to learn more. So you started to compound 3 industry: the scaffolding, the blasting, and the rigging. So riggers started to learn how to blast, blasters started to learn how to rig, and the whole 3 match themselves together.
Consultant with Clear Blue Troy Garvey says the training Bahamians get through this company is very valuable as it prepares them to work in the industry around the world.
If a gentleman jump up and say he will go to Canada or America or Europe, that certificate covers them to work in those particular areas. And I think that's astounding. The training, they don't have to pay $1 for the training. I know there's a gentleman who used to work for Clear Blue Maritime who went to the U.S. and got an A1 job as supervisor with his certificate that he got from Clear Blue Maritime.
Garvey has this advice for Bahamian workers.
Come to work on time. Come to work on time. Be that product that people want to know that when they call for you, you're there on time and working to your full potential. And so when you show up to work, instead of the expat, instead of you going home, they'll probably send the expat home.
Sabrina Brown, ZNS Network News.
Well, West End, Grand Bahama, the latest to benefit from a major initiative by the Urban Renewal 2.0 program. Coordinators have teamed up with the Member of Parliament for that area as they continue the mission of transforming lives. Here again is Joan Davis-Roll.
What's important about this urban renewal program is the fact that they get into the souls of people.
The heart, soul, and ultimately the lives of countless persons have been transformed by this award-winning program. A national initiative of which the nation's leader, the Prime Minister, the Right Honorable Perry Christie, is the brainchild. Member of Parliament for West End and Bimini, Obi Wolshcombe, notes that since the inception of Urban Renewal 2.0 in Grand Bahama, the program has lived up to its mission to raise the standard of living, moving into communities like the capital of Grand Bahama, West End, and changing them forever.
Proud of the work that they've been doing and the fact that finally we have a sustained program to do with some of the social needs of our people. Housing is fundamentally important, and providing the houses and the support for the community and ensuring that they have things like septic tanks.
Urban officials moving relentlessly to assist people like 71-year-old Wanton Nathaniel Brown, who for years has been without proper bathroom facilities and as a result has had to relocate.
Been up by my sister, living up that way for change.
And now that you have it?
Thank God. I'm happy.
Are there other stories like this, other persons definitely who've been affected in this way?
We have a 96-year-old. Can you imagine? Growing up, I heard about the stories of using the bucket and going to the bushes, but it exists today in our Bahamas. We see it all the time.
The Deputy Director of Urban Renewal, Michelle Reckley, says with the help of local stakeholders, that agency has not only raised the living standards of many, but helped to avert a potentially dangerous situation at a time when a major disease was posing a threat to many countries.
One of our walkabouts that we did with some of the nurses from the clinic, and actually I got a call from the hospital when we had dengue fever. And what we find then was a lot of holes that people were actually using, and they were open, just like this one here. This was just an open hole, and you could have seen everything. And of course the mosquitoes was crazy around there. I want to, before I go in depth, to say thank you so much to the partners who made this possible. Ms. Sarah St. George and the Grand Bahama Port Authority, and of course the minister who provided all the cleaning up for us to access these areas.
This latest initiative by Urban Renewal will impact some 12 families initially and another 12 families in the coming weeks. And according to the Deputy Director of Urban Renewal, it will become an ongoing process in West End. Reporting for ZNS Network News, I'm Joan Davis-Roll.
Thanks, Joan. Caribbean Pavement Solutions and the Dollar That Could project closing out the project on Grand Bahama over the weekend. Local charities were presented with checks during a special cocktail reception. Megan Shepard has that story.
The Dollar That Could campaign giving back to 3 charitable organizations on Grand Bahama during a special ceremony. President of Bahamas Striping, Atario Mitchell, says that they are committed to investing in the island of Grand Bahama through this foundation. 1 year ago, the foundation began its campaign to raise funds for the charities, but during that time, Mitchell says they were met with a number of challenges.
Despite all of these challenges, ladies and gentlemen, I am pleased to stand here tonight and say that the Dollar That Could raised some $18,000. That is $6,000 for the Grand Bahama Children's Home, $6,000 for the Grand Bahama Humane Society, and $6,000 for the Rotary Clubs of Grand Bahama.
Minister for Grand Bahama, the Honorable Dr. Michael Darville, commends the young business leaders for their efforts. He says this foundation proves what a community effort can produce, and he is expecting tremendous growth in the future.
I believe with the work of the Chamber of Commerce, I believe we can even do a greater job where we can even have a greater participation throughout the business community, not only in Freeport, but even in East and West Grand Bahama, so that we can take this awesome idea where we can actually help even greater and even more meaningful programs.
Member of Parliament for East Grand Bahama, Peter Turnquest, notes that the selected charities all carry out necessary services on the island. He says the spirit of giving is truly alive and well within the community.
In spite of these limitations, though, they give responsible, reliable service to this community. And I applaud all those who lead, work for,
these organizations.
Mitchell says this year's goal is $50,000 and all proceeds are given back to the community. Megan Shepard, ZNS Network News.
In news from the crime beat, Operation Turf Sweep netting 11 persons yesterday for various offenses. The offenses ranged from possession of dangerous drugs, possession with the intent to supply, deceit of a peace officer, and breach of the Gaming and Lottery Act. A quantity of ammunition was also discovered. Operation Turf Sweep continued into the early hours this morning, that is. Police say around 12 a.m. while in the Freeport area, officers discovered in a dumpster a black and silver .380 pistol with 2.380 rounds of ammunition. Officers also arrested a 21-year-old male of Frobisher Drive who was wanted for questioning in reference to murder by the Central Detective Unit. And a man arraigned in court today for unlawful sexual intercourse, 33-year-old Anthony Kendrick Smith of Arden Forest, appeared before Magistrate Charlton Smith on 2 counts of unlawful sexual intercourse and 1 count of indecent assault. He was not required to enter a plea but was remanded to the Bahamas Department of Correction in New Providence until May 23rd for trial. Now, police issued a bulletin for Smith's arrest on Thursday. He was arrested by officers of the mobile unit on Friday afternoon. Stay with us, there's more news right after this.